Hello, my name's Colin, and I'm here today to talk about relationships and ADHD. As somebody who's been married to somebody with ADHD for 15 years and has known them for 25 years, I think I've got a thing or two that I can add about being in a relationship with somebody with ADHD. And I think the first thing to say is that we're still learning all the time about ADHD, what it is and how it can impact upon people. I read all the time papers and research and articles that really extends my knowledge of what's going on with ADHD, and I talk to my husband about it as well to expand his knowledge and understanding of the condition that he actually lives with. But I think beneath all of that reading and all of the research and study, I think it's important, the first thing to really think about is that every single person with ADHD is unique. We are all the unique combination of our genetic inheritance, our lived experience, and the environmental factors that are on us at any one particular time. And this will impact upon how ADHD presents in any one individual. So the first message from me really is find out how ADHD impacts upon your partner. Don't have any assumptions. Don't think, for example, that they're going to have ADHD, therefore they're going to be experiencing impulsivity, attentional dysregulation, and hyperactivity all at the same time. It varies from person to person. An honest, open dialogue and discussion is the way in which we can get to the bottom of how ADHD impacts upon any individual. So talk to each other, keep it good-humoured, really express to each other that you accept that one person in the relationship is neurodivergent or neurodiverse, whatever terminology your partner likes to use, and one person in the relationship is neurotypical, and understand that, so that the more open and honest the discussion and the dialogue, the more that you can begin to learn from each other how the neurodiversity will impact upon the relationship or the marriage. And there are certain aspects of ADHD to really think about. One thing that I've really learned to understand during my marriage is what's called rejection sensitivity. And this means that people who experience rejection sensitivity can have a very emotional response to feeling criticised or rejected. And I have learned to know the signs of this and to understand that maybe sometimes I need to think about changing the language that I use, think about framing things in a slightly different way when I want to have a word with my husband, that he won't be feeling rejected or criticised, and have the response that goes with that. But also, we have had the conversation around rejection sensitivity between the two of us. And I have come to understand that there are things that I can do, especially how I speak and tone of voice, that reduces those triggers. And then you can have an open conversation with each other about what's winding you up about each other without the person with ADHD having that emotional response that goes with that. Another feature of ADHD that I've really begun to understand is object permanence. And it took me a long time to understand this. I like things to be tidy. I have put things away in the same place. So I know where everything is and I can get things really easily. My husband just comes in and puts stuff down and forgets about it. Object permanence means as soon as that object or thing no longer has any function, then it's gone from consciousness. And therefore, my husband spends a lot of time in his life looking around for the things that he needs, and he's forgotten where he's put. And this used to wind me up a little bit at first, but now I've come to realise actually that's just part of ADHD, and it's okay, and it doesn't matter if things are lying around the place. There are more important things to think about than everything being in the same place and everything being tidied and packed away. Also, I think if you understand each other and you accept each other for all of your personality and all of the features of your character, then I think there's a role sometimes for the neurotypical partner just to step in sometimes, just to organise things, especially if things have to be organised very, very quickly. I spend a lot of my time reminding my husband about things, what he has to do, where he has to be, and those kind of constant repetitions, which some people could find annoying, is actually the most effective way that he can remember things that goes on in his life. But I think one of the other things that I've really learned about living with somebody with ADHD is actually how tiring it can be and how overwhelming. And I think over 25 years, I've learned the signs and the signals of when I need to shut up, or I need to leave the room, or I need to just back off a little bit, because actually it can be quite exhausting physically and mentally living in a neurotypical world, especially when your partner has to go out every day and do their job, and maybe you're raising kids together. They can actually get completely exhausted as a result of that. And I think that's one of the most important things, and that can have an impact on somebody's mood. And we know that ADHD is very closely aligned with anxiety. And I think many years ago, the two of us had that conversation around anxiety, because anxiety, remember, can present in many, many different ways, from angry outbursts to people closing down to social withdrawal, all of those different ways, or low resilience, getting very emotional when things happen. All of those that I've just mentioned are ways in which anxiety can present. And again, it will be different with different people. And I've learned the signs of when my husband is anxious. And I've learned that we together have worked out ways where we can self-calm together, where we can enjoy ourselves together, where we can switch off together. And I think that is really important. Not just having separate interests, which is, I think, an important feature within any relationship or marriage, but also learning how you relax together and how you self-calm together and have fun together and have activities and interests in your life that are completely separate to the pressures of the work that you do. I talk a lot about supporting mental health in children, and the same goes for adults. The more competent we feel in our lives about certain things, the interests and passions that we have in our lives, the better we feel about these, it can help us to be more resilient to the parts of our life which we find challenging, and the parts of our life which can cause us a lot of anxiety. Learn as a couple what they are. They may be separate, they may be together, but finding out and having that honest and open dialogue about those things in your life can really, really help. And as somebody who hasn't got ADHD, the power that I have had in my hands as the partner of somebody who has, to say to my partner, you know, I accept you, I love you for who you are, I accept you, and your ADHD is not going to be a barrier to a successful relationship here. That can be incredibly empowering for individuals with ADHD. And I think also, just to say that if you are watching this and you have ADHD, it's sometimes allowing your partner to step into that space, giving them permission to tell you how difficult or challenging or confusing it can be at times, but letting them express to you how much they accept and love you within the marriage or relationship that you have.